Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. In this episode of the How to Play Chess series, we will be covering a double check and smothered mate pattern. This is a pattern that I learnt about through completing puzzles, and I think it's an absolutely fantastic pattern to memorize if you can, but I'm going to walk you through it. It isn't overly complicated, but let's start with today's board position. So in previous videos we have discussed how white or black must act when the king is in check. So the first option is to move away, essentially escape capture. The second one is to capture the piece that is checking the king, and the third option is to block. In today's position, black is in, or about to be, black is in a lot of trouble. And I'm going to show you why when I move the knight on f7 to h6. I'll give you all a moment to consider this board position. The queen on e6 is now checking black's king on g8, but the knight that just moved to h6 is also checking the king. This is known as a discovered attack, discovered check, and a double check. All three, but let's just focus on the double check component. So what does black do now? Well, here's the thing. Normally, black would be able to move away, and it will, but I want to show you something that you would want to do, but you still can't in this position. What I would personally do, and what most people I think would do in this position, is block the queen's check. However, with a double check, you must move the king because the knight now is still checking the king. So ordinarily in this position, you would try to block the attack because currently there are no pieces that can capture either. Actually, you can capture the queen, but you can't capture the knight. If you do, the king is still in check. This is an illegal move. So what do you do now? Well, as I said about a minute ago, the only option that black has now is to move away right into h8 into the corner, which is never a good thing for black, and especially not a good thing now. So this is the pattern that I'd like to discuss today, and I hope you can all memorize this. So the queen on e6 is going to check the king on h8. But just before I do that, I want to show you if the knight moves there, then the king can keep moving away, and then you could even end up with a perpetual check where you keep checking the king and end up in a stalemate. I'll cover that another time. But let's say now the king has moved here, and instead of checking again with the knight, the queen is actually going to sacrifice herself. We're now covering a queen sacrifice, which is another fantastic tactic that I'd love to teach you all about. So white is now checking the king. So what happens now? Well, at first you might say, well, the king can recapture the queen, but it can't because the king would then be in check with the knight. So the only legal move on the board right now is for this rook on f8 to capture the queen. If the knight wasn't here and the queen sacrificed herself, the king would be able to recapture. But in this position, we're now in a situation where it's mate in one. Can you see it? If you saw f7, well done. This is a very strange looking position. I haven't seen many checkmates with a knight. This is the best and most popular way to do it, but this is actually checkmate. The king is blocked and cut off in the corner on h8, blocked in by its own pawns and its own rook on g8. This is checkmate, and there are no other pieces on the board that can capture the knight on f7. So I'm going to go back now and take you through that one more time. Might be a slightly shorter video than usual today, but I think this is a really, really great pattern to learn, and it's something that I learnt about very far along into my chess journey. So first move, knight moves, and you can also think about it on the left-hand side of the board as well, and just flip it. So white moves to h6, double check, discovered attack, discovered check. The king now moves to h8. The queen sacrifices herself with check. It's an illegal move for the king to recapture because of the knight, so the rook does, and then white delivers checkmate with the knight, and the king cannot move. There's nothing else to do to save the game, and white wins. This here is called a smothered mate. Bit of a strange name, or maybe not, but this is called a smothered mate, and I think you'll see it quite often if you complete puzzles online and you start to learn more about mating patterns. I really hope you enjoyed this video, and I hope you learnt something new, and as always, try and look for opportunities to carry out these tactics when you can, and when you can see an opportunity on the board. And as always, be careful, because your opponent might try and do the same thing to you. In general, I would always say beware of a queen and a knight working together, because they're quite the power couple. But in this particular position, white ended up on top with a double check followed by a smothered mate. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video, and I'll see you in my next one. Bye.